Welcome back, boss. So you want to know how to build a business that lasts, the kind that can be passed on from generation to generation, or that you can sell and then live off of when you retire. I'm so glad that you're asking this question because too many small business owners and entrepreneurs only think about how do they get their business to make money today, and they have no plan for what happens when they want to stop working. So we're going to go in today and analyze what it actually takes to make a business last and some of the things that you need to be paying attention to. Unfortunately, you can absolutely create a business that's profitable for 5 years or for 20 years or 25 years, but does not make money without you. That type of business is hard to pass on. It's hard to honestly get any of your kids to even want to take it on if all they see is like struggle and sacrifice and you working all the time and not being able to go on vacation. And it's also not really sellable. So we want to make sure that we're building something that's going to last the test of time. I'm Amy Walker, small business strategist, and I help clients be able to create consistent, predictable, and scalable sales and marketing so that they can create that sustainable business. Here's the good news. Most businesses can become a legacy business that you can pass on from generation to generation. However, it is also true that you can have a business that's profitable for 5 years, 10 years, 15, even 20 years that nobody wants to take over and that is not sellable because it's all so dependent on you, your time, your labor, the processes that you hold inside of your brain, and it just isn't really going to last the test of time. So the principles that we're going to cover today are going to help you, first of all, build a business that is going to be sustainable for you. Like, you know, you can depend on that business as long as you want to run it, but also it's going to help you create a business that is transferable to somebody else, either in your family that wants to take it over, or if you want to sell it to some new buyer. So in today's video, the first thing that we're going to talk about is some of the statistics around business failure, what percentages fail, why they fail, and then we're going to go through and talk about some of the principles that Jim Collins teaches in his book, Built to Last, which I'm a huge fan of all things that Jim Collins writes. I feel like anytime he puts out a new book, we all need to be listening. And so we'll go through that as well. So stick with me until the end because you're going to know exactly what to avoid to make sure your business doesn't fail, but you're also going to have the checklist of what to do to ensure that your company can last 50 to 100 years and beyond. Okay, so let's start off with the scary stats. They're actually not as scary as most people tell us, but it is true that 20% of new businesses fail during the first 2 years of being open. 45% fail within the first 5 years, 65% in the first 10 years, and only 25% of new businesses make it to 15 years or more. So if you've made it longer than that, good job. If you're still working towards that, let's talk about why businesses fail. There are 6 top reasons why businesses fail. Number one, first reason businesses fail is that they are not filling a need, or they didn't do their market research and there's not enough demand for what they do. If you are worried you might be in that space, the good news is you can always pivot, you can redirect, you can shift into an area that has more demand, but ignoring it will surely put you out of business. The second reason businesses fail is they had a bad business plan, or I'm going to say more likely they didn't have a business plan. And writing out the business plan like the banks make you do when you're applying for a loan, it's so far from what you need to actually have a working, functioning business plan that like this is an area that we can all step up and do a better job to create more sustainability in our business. Number 3 is lack of business funding. It takes funding to get a business up and running. It takes funding to grow a business. And so many new businesses are trying to bootstrap. They're trying to start off with no cash or very little cash. They don't know how to access funding. They don't know the things that they should be doing in the beginning to open themselves up to being able to get a line of credit later down the road. Or they look at business debt in the same way that they look at personal debt and think, nope, shouldn't do that. We need to be able to have access to funding in order to grow, in order to last, and in order to make it through the bumps that come in business. It is normal to have challenging times. And if a challenging time causes your business to go under because there's no access to capital, that's a problem. If you're ready to grow and you can't and you get stuck at a certain place because you don't have access to capital, that's a problem. So be open to finding capital and educating yourself on where you can actually access it. Next is low visibility. This could be because you're in a retail space and there's not enough traffic and people don't know you're there. It could be because your online reach is reaching the wrong people or it's not reaching anyone. It could be because you're not doing enough marketing and you're just not driving traffic to you. If you're struggling in this area and you feel like this is really resonating for you, make sure that you watch the video that comes next, because I'm going to run through how you get quality lead volume coming for a very budget-friendly plan. The next reason just makes me sad. Nobody should have this issue, but so many people have this issue. It's inflexibility, an unwillingness to change. You won't do things differently. You say to yourself, well, I've always done it this way and I'm always gonna do it this way. And then everything just passes you by because you wouldn't change with the times. Because you wouldn't change with the times, or you weren't willing to see things in a different way. This right here is straight up a leadership flaw. The last reason is going to surprise you. It's rapid expansion. When we help our businesses scale, we figure out, can they handle the new business before we go after the increase in business? If they can't handle an increase in business, they have to address that first before we can come back and flood a bunch of new people to them. Because growing too fast can put you out of business just as easily as not growing at all or growing too slow. Now, I want to introduce to you the concepts that Jim Collins teaches in the book Built to Last. If you don't know Jim Collins, he is a researcher. He's a professor at Stanford University, and he will actually research companies, find the data, and then correlate all the data to find out what are the actual things that it takes to make a business last. So this is not just his ideas, but this is actually data-driven and really proven. So let's jump into it. Number one is clock building. Visionary companies' long-term success does not come from a great idea or a charismatic visionary leader. Rather, they are successful because of strong foundations embedded in the organizations that allow them to prosper beyond leaders and product life cycles. Their ultimate creation is the company itself. By focusing on organizational design rather than a specific idea or unique market opportunity, visionary companies build enduring institutions that outlive the specific product lines. Haven't we seen this a ton lately? Companies where their product got passed by and so they went out of business, versus companies that continue to innovate and they continue to change and they continue to find new products that fit what the market is needing today. Look at Apple. They almost went out of business in the 80s because they were so focused on a specific product. But when they adjusted and they started looking at music and they started looking at entertainment and they moved beyond just the personal computer and into creating a lifestyle and having like a source of creativity in the palm of your hand at all times, that's when they started to thrive again. Now they still do personal computers, but they do so much more. Versus a Blockbuster who was so sure that everybody wanted to go out on Friday and Saturday and Sunday nights and see all of their friends while they walked through and had the social experience of picking out their movie. They didn't understand the pull of never having to leave house and be in your sweatpants while you watch whatever you want to watch on your screen. So if we are willing to innovate and make it more about the company, more about the vision, and less about the product, we are setting ourselves up to last. If you're finding these tips helpful, make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you can get notified every time we release new content. All you have to do is hit that little bell. The second principle in Built to Last is the genius of the and. Visionary companies do not limit themselves to the tyranny of the or. Example, stability or change, low cost or high quality. Instead, they find ways to embrace both the extremes of various dimensions. For example, profits and purpose, conservative and bold, ideological and autonomy. They go beyond mere balance or compromise to excel in both extremes. This is such a cool principle. Stand for the and. Get clear on what you want and don't compromise one thing at the expense of the other. Number 3, visionary companies are about more than profits. Visionary companies pursue a cluster of objectives, of which money is only one component. They understand that profitability is necessary for the organization to exist and fulfill its purpose, but they are much more than profits. They pursue both profits and ideology, and this core ideology is used to guide and inspire its people on all fronts. Companies that last are made up of people that believe in the company. And if the company is only about profits, it's hard to find those team members who are invested in the longevity and the success and the growth and the mission and vision of the company. That ideology is what brings your team together now, but it's what makes your company last later. The last principle we're going to talk about today is to preserve the core and stimulate progress. A visionary company has a relentless drive for progress, yet it is concurrently ideological and progressive, i.e., it adapts without compromising its core ideals. There's an ongoing dynamic interplay between the core and progress, and the visionary company embraces both successfully. To achieve this, they must translate them into concrete, tangible mechanisms that are deeply infused into the organization. Those core values that you have as your company are the anchor for how you don't innovate to the point where you forget who you were and you become somebody totally different. Those core values are so important, and they should be ingrained into everything that you do, from how you hire to how you train to who you fire because they don't fit in alignment with the core values, to the decisions that you make for growth that year. When you are clear on what you actually stand for, now you have that foundation and you have the boundaries in place for innovation. And people know how far they can go and what they can't go into because they know it does or does not align with the core values. So, question for you, are your core values something that you have written in a binder that you never really talk about? Or do you talk about them once a year or just during training and onboarding? Or are they truly ingrained into everything that you do? As we wrap up, I want to share with you a couple things that I see. This isn't research driven, but I see this on a regular basis as I'm working with small business owners. 3 reasons why I see businesses don't last is because, number one, the business owner is very short-sighted when they start. They're trying to create a job for themselves where they can make money and have a little flexibility, instead of trying to create a company that is designed to last. They haven't even seen it, so of course they can't achieve it. Number 2, the business owner is too risk averse. Because they're trying to mitigate risk, they're making decisions that are actually limiting growth. And number 3, they're building a business owner dependent business. Too much of what happens is held inside of your brain, or actually requires you physically being there to get it done. If we want to build a business that lasts, that's sellable, that we can transfer on to someone in our family, we have to build a business that's based on process, not based on one person. Now that you know how to build a business that lasts, let's talk about how to build marketing that works. Go check out my next video. It's a 15-minute masterclass. It's going to show you how to create low cost but very consistently producing lead volume. I can't wait for you to go check it out.